What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew with a brand new episode of The Paul James Show. It is our Thursday night preview episode, and we are getting into a whole lot tonight. We, of course, have a very big match coming up this weekend against the Fremantle Dockers. We are looking to rebound off the back of a not unsurprising loss. I guess on the show this time last week, I joked about us going down by 10 goals. Didn't quite expect it to happen. Certainly didn't expect it to go down in the way that it did, but big L for the Cats. And let's see how we rebound. Lockie Miller's jumped in saying dumb title win by 44 on Saturday. Go Cats. I hope so. You can blame Ben for thumbnails and titles. That's all his job. But we'll get into the show tonight. There's a bit that we're going to cover. We are, of course, going to spend a lot of time looking at Geelong and Fremantle this weekend. We're going to talk about the team lineups. We're going to talk about the danger of the 0-2 start and what that would mean if it were to happen. Hopefully, as Lockie says, hopefully it's a dumb title. Hopefully it's a redundant conversation. Hopefully we get up by 44 or more even. But there is the hypothetical, there is the what if, and we'll explore that a little bit in conversation as well. We'll talk about the history between the two teams the last time we met and a larger history of matchups between Geelong and Fremantle. We'll, of course, go around the grounds as this episode goes to air. We know that Carlton and Richmond are going head-to-head right now in what is usually, historically, the season opener. Now, a week later, it's kicking off round one, I suppose. We'll get into that one. So we'll discuss that as well. We'll go around the grounds with all the other games that are to play out this weekend. And of course, we'll get into your questions and comments as well. What I want to begin with, before we get into any footy stories though, we'll talk about team lineups. We'll talk about all those things shortly. I spoke about this on the season, what do we call it? The season launch video with myself, Ben, Jake, and the chaps. A week and a half ago now, and I want to kind of take an opportunity to revisit it because it's a good cause, and this lady is the best thing in the world. So I want to quickly jump across here to just quickly promote what my wife has been doing this month. She's been trying to raise as much money as possible for Endometriosis Australia. It's something that plagues her. She's got significant illness tied to endometriosis, and there's 1 in 7 women in Australia, but I believe it's even the world, that are suffering from it. We've been trying to raise money this month. As you can see, we're trying to raise up to $1,000, all for charity. Not a cent goes into our pockets, and it's all direct to the charity themselves as well. So there's no other hands siphoning from the pile there. Please, if you've got the ability to donate, no matter, you can obviously see they've got their defaults of $30, $50, $100, $200, and $500. If you can't donate that much, that's fine. You've got the custom thing there at the bottom. Drop 10. Like whatever it is that you're able to do. It's a wonderful cause. And she's like really powering on. As you can see, there's some little updates here. She's been trying to rack up as many kilometers as possible to kind of continue to I guess do her bit to justify why we're raising the money in the first place. Not that I think it requires any justifying. It's an incredible thing. I will shout out Horatio, who donated last week. And thank you very much, Horatio, if you're watching already. But it's a wonderful cause, so please, if you've got the ability to jump in and donate, it would be hugely appreciated, and you won't be hearing the last of this. I'll be talking about it later, so that sounds like a threat. I'll be citing it whenever I get the opportunity over the remainder of March. It is Endometriosis Awareness Month, and we're trying to do our bit. I've seen it firsthand, and it's a horrible, horrible thing, and I see her just crippled from different stages over the month, and I don't wish it on anyone. So please, if you've got the ability to support, there's a high likelihood that there's an important woman in your life who unfortunately is suffering from this to some sort of varying degree. So please, if you've got the ability to donate, please do so. But we'll get back to we'll get back to footy news, and we'll talk more about that shortly. Like I said, we're going to get into team lineups. We're going to talk about the 0-2 start and the prospect of that, though hopefully it doesn't eventuate, and much more. So let's get across here to the team lineups because they have been announced. The Cats have made a few changes. So let's scroll down a little bit here and see what has exactly occurred. Judd McVie will be making his debut for the Fremantle side, as will, awesomely, Mitch Edwards. He will be making his debut for the Cats this weekend. We're going with a ruckman. We're not doing part-timers. We're going with a ruckman. That's awesome. Long overdue. He'll be debuting, but the captain, Paddy Dangerfield, and the reigning Coleman medalist, Jeremy Cameron, both return, having not quite made the cut for last week. Fitness-wise, I'm thrilled with the 3 additions. Of course, with any additions comes some subtractions. So let's pick through those a little bit. James Worpel is the less contentious one of the trio, given that he is out injured. But then Ollie Henry and Mitch Nevitt have both been omitted. And I think it highlights a little bit for us. And I think probably off the back of last year, especially the way the season ended last year, when it comes to someone like Mitch Nevitt, I think we're starting to get a real sense of where he's at in the pecking order. We obviously played him as a forward last week, and I think we did him dirty there. Again, I think he continues to suffer from opportunities, and when he gets his opportunities used in what I would consider an incorrect way. But when it comes to midfielders, he obviously sits behind a queue of a few players, including specifically Jai Clark, I think is the most notable player that he's kind of sitting behind in the queue there. And he's felt the brunt of it once again. So he's out. And of course, Ollie Henry is as well, who contributed nicely on the scoreboard, but as was discussed pretty regularly in post-game live, there were some defensive efforts. The thing that he was, there was so much talk that he'd worked on, and his running and his attack, like his defensive pressure. There'd been talk that he'd worked on that and fixed it in the off-season. Wasn't overly visible. So please, if you haven't gone and checked out post-game live from last week, it's a bit of a tricky audio one. We're going to work on a few things to try and hopefully improve it next week for any of the guests that are coming on board and for everyone who's listening. But he deserved to be out. Go check out the episode and you'll hear a lot of people, including myself, both pump up the good things he did, but also really sharply focus on the not-so-good elements of his game. But the rest of the lineup, though, so we've got our 3 ins, we've got our 3 outs, we've got our debutant. The rest of the team sheet is as follows. You can see Connor O'Sullivan, Jack Henry, and Sam DeConing on the full back line. Tom Stewart, Oisin Mullen, Lawson Humphries off half back. Mark O'Connor, Bailey Smith, Ollie Dempsey through the centre. Half forwards are Brad Close, Sean Manor, and Jack Martin. Full forwards, Jeremy Cameron, Shannon Neal, Paddy Dangerfield. Of course, this is not exactly how it's going to line up. We won't be playing Sean Manor as a centre half forward against Alex Pearce, but you get the idea. The bench, Zach Guthrie, Jai Clark, Tanner Bruin, Graham Myers, and Mitch Edwards. And our followers, Mark Blitzars, Tom Atkins, and Max Holmes. The emergencies, Jack Bowes, Ollie Henry, Mitch Nevitt. So they haven't been completely cut, those two, but they do make up the emergencies list now. So let's talk about this other point of contention and what Ben has framed this whole episode around. And it's, of course, the prospect of going 0-2. It was a pretty ugly loss last week. Let's not sugarcoat in any way. It was a pretty awful performance from Geelong. When they finally started chaining a few things together late in the game, you could visibly see that Gold Coast had taken the foot off the gas a little bit. So it's hard to really derive too much meaning from that final quarter, other than what I would say is that Geelong finished the game with their tails up. They started to get into a rhythm that is more representative of their normal game. Ignore the lack of pressure and the fact that it was easier for them to do it. It starts to build up some semblance of momentum. And my hope is that translates into something good for the Cats on the weekend. But this is a pretty decent Freo team, right? I know last time we played them, we will talk about that in a bit more detail. We flogged them. And it was at GMHBA as well. But this is a strong team. I look at that list, and there's not really many weaknesses. Murphy Reid proved himself in his debut. Josh Tracy, Shea Bolton, Sam Switkowski, Patrick Vossen, and have all been there and done it for a while. Isaiah Dudley got a Rising Star nomination last year and really showed some great attributes as well. Matthew Johnson's not someone I know as well, but Andy Brayshaw is huge. Corey Wagner knows his way around it as well. Defensively, Judd McVie comes into the Fremantle side from Melbourne. Alex Pearce, Jordan Clark, Heath Chapman, Oscar McDonald, Carl Warner. Like, these guys have been going around for a while. Jordan Clark was phenomenal last year. Alex Pearce is a stalwart and has been doing it for a long, long time. Oscar McDonald knows his way around it. Like, certainly I think when I look at that defensive line, there's certainly ways that I think we can exploit it, but it's not going to be easy to tackle. And then when it comes to their followers, Sean Darcy is a well-established ruckman. Luke Jackson playing as a midfielder. It doesn't matter. They're just throwing the magnets everywhere. And Caleb Sarong. On the bench, Brandon Walker's a bit of a nobody for the most part. Jai Amos is very talented. Nathan O'Driscoll's been around. Neil Erasmus and Hayden Young. Hayden Young off the bench is a dangerous prospect as well. So they've got a lot of talent on their list. They are travelling. They are playing their first game of the season. Geelong's got some run through their legs. There's good signs there. I guess some positive things that we can kind of hone in on. But we can't ignore how poor the performance was last week. And I'm sure they have been flogged on the track. I hope that they have been flogged on the track. The skills were the thing that let the Cats down. The turnovers in the defensive half was sky high. Yeah, Jackie, that's a reasonable question. Is Hayden Young fit? I'd imagine if there's any sort of doubt with someone like him, because he's had a bit of a run of injuries, if there's any doubt, then they probably wouldn't select him full stop. But understandably, and now that you've flagged it and I'm thinking about it as well, it is an interesting one to see him listed on the bench. That doesn't fill me with confidence if I was a Fremantle supporter. But they've also listed Luke Jackson as a midfielder alongside Sean Darcy in the ruck. So who knows, right? It's hard to take any really serious meaning from it because they are just shuffling pieces around. I'd have no idea. We have absolutely no idea. We bring in a ruckman and then we don't put him on for the centre bounce. What are we doing too? But yeah, when it comes to that 0-2 start, obviously last week was really poor. Skills were horrific, and hopefully they have put in the time over the course of this past week, building on that final quarter to get a bit of momentum going, get some touch, and obviously the inclusions of Danger, of Jeremy Cameron are going to help. Gives us some really strong targets to to deliver the ball to, in ways that we didn't really have last week. Hopefully that also eases a bit of a burden on Shannon Neal's shoulders as well. But it's going to be a really fascinating watch. I think this will be... Oh, yeah, laid out Mason Cox in. There's no reason why not, right? He did come across. He's certainly in terms of his size, if nothing else, he's a big recruit. We'll have to see what happens there. Both teams could be swinging some late changes potentially. We'll have to wait and see how it all shapes up. But I don't think we'll end up 0-2. I'm showing my hand a little bit for predictions here. Stay tuned for a preview video that will go up tomorrow. I don't think we're going to go down in this particular matchup. But it's going to be a lot tighter than what it was this time last year. So we'll wait and see. But we'll move on to our next item for discussion here. And that is, of course, the last time these two teams met. If I'm picking the right one. There it is. We did flog them, like I said. Cats won by 78 points. 23 goals, 9. 147 to 10-9, 69. 4 of which for Freo were consecutive goals to a debutant. So hopefully we don't get a repeat of that sort of lapse, I would say. But Oshin was against him and has learned a lot since. So if they find themselves head-to-head once again, I think Oshin will get the job done. When we look at some of those stats and what we can take away from it, they're the team stats. It's a typical Geelong story here. Like, disposal count, pretty similar. It's not that dissimilar in a lot of ways to what we had last week, outside of the inside 50 count where we got monstered in. Disposals, we tend not to dominate possession, but we are so effective with our possession. And we just didn't do that last week. So if we can get back to that part of our game, that efficiency, we should win this thing with a decent margin. But if we don't, we really make this a lot tighter than it could or should be. Our clearance game has also improved significantly since we played them before, and even then, we won it. We nearly won it last year. So hopefully we're better off in that position and things are a bit stronger. Looking at the comments here. Flash says, great time for a debut. I'm excited to see our new ruckman. Yeah, so am I, mate. I think he's got a lot of talent. So, and he's demonstrated some good things. We've heard some really wonderful things off the training track. And it's just good to have a young ruckman that's actually fit and able to play. So we'll see how it all goes. But wishing Mitch Edwards nothing but the best. What have we got here? Peter D says, opinion please. Each year the AFL coaches, commentators complain about the length of the game. The answer is simple. Fixed 25-minute quarters with the only time on being a result of injuries. Shadu has just kicked Telstra out. The answer is simple. Fixed 25-minute quarters with the only time on being as a result of injuries. You booped him. Thank you, Shadu. Telstra, get a life, mate. But anyway. Yeah, look, I actually don't mind the core idea that you're trying to get at there. Obviously, we've had some balloon quarters due to injuries already. Even going back to the State of Origin game. But yeah, if they want shorter games, there's got to be some serious constraints, some non-negotiables. And right now, there's too many things that are a bit negotiable for from the stoppages, etc., that kind of hold up the clock. Problem is that if you have a scenario where the clock will keep running no matter what, then you start to see players and coaches game it, and they're going to try and milk it for every second they can extract. Of course, there comes risk associated with that, where the umpire might ping a player for for not returning the ball as fast as they should, etc. So there's a risk associated with it. But I think more often than not, players are probably going to get benefit of the doubt. So you milk a couple precious seconds, and that might be the difference between a win and a loss. I like what you're going for. I think it's a really fascinating one, but it's a tricky one to execute. But at the same time, maybe if you just pull the trigger, everyone will have to adapt. Everyone learns, and there'll be winners and there'll be losers. But I don't know. What have we got here? So obviously there's a bit of commentary around Telstra getting booped. Peter D says Bowes for Clark. You would rather Jai Clark out, Bowes in. While I am a big fan of Jack Bowes and what he brings, and would much rather see him in the team than not, I don't know if Clark's the player I want out right now. He showed a lot of promise last week. I was really impressed by, and he only played 50% of game time. Keep this in mind. He was about a dozen possessions. I feel like he impacted the play a lot more beyond just those 12. Just from body efforts. Putting his body on the line. He felt far more present than what 12 disposals would. And this is just the eye test, of course. But he felt more present than what the data would suggest. And that's off the back of what was outside of Grand Final Day, but Grand Final Day was shit for everyone. Was a pretty good wrap-up to the year after finding himself on the outs. And I think very reasonably, there've been a lot of us that were asking questions about him. He finished the season quite strongly. I want him to continue to get those opportunities. That said, Jack Bowes, I want to see him in. So it's a tricky one. Jackie's on Team Clack, so am I. And Peter, if you're not familiar with that, there was someone misspoke or there was a typo or something in our community at one point. Clark became Clack, and Clack is stuck within the team. But I'd rather keep Jai Clark in. So I guess to then that point, I've gone and closed the window. So I'll quickly bring it back for this weekend. If Jack Bowes lineups. If Jack Bowes were to come in, who would I want to see go out? It is a tricky one, right? If I'm being honest right now, and I haven't seen Ben in the comments, so I might be able to dodge a stray here. From him, at least. I don't know about all of you in the chat, and I don't know. Who knows? You might start tagging him in the Discord. This is going to upset Ben, and possibly some others as well. Meanwhile, I think Gary's going to be delighted. I think if I was to drop one right now to bring Jack Bowes in, Jackie's already cottoned onto it. If there's one that I was going to cut right now, it's probably Brad Close. And I think Brad Close has got a lot to offer. I think he's a wonderful footballer. But he's not been in great form for a large chunk of the back end of last year. And he didn't... And plenty of people let the team down last week, but he was run all over last week. The rebounding defenders, he's really good defensively, right? He usually chases hard. He gets in difficult positions. It makes it hard for the defenders going the other way. I didn't see any of that from him last week. And of course, it is hard to do it when there's just a tsunami going the other way and when your team is really struggling. But I think he needs to go and find some touch. Then once he does, I want him back in the team. I think we're a better team with an in-form Brad Close in it. But I don't think he's in form. So go back and find that touch. That would be my stance right now. And I do want to be clear because, Jackie, I can see you getting upset with me here. Brad Close is a best 23 player. I have no doubts about that. He's a best 23 player when he's in form, but he's not in form. He hasn't been in form for 15 matches, I would say. And I need to see him regain some of that form. But that said, there's also some discussion here that maybe Jack Bowes is kind of coming back from some sort of niggling injury. And if that's the case, no. Go back, he needs to be the one in the VFL. He needs to build that capacity back up, and Jackie's been shit-stirring me, so... Amy says, I think Bowes was on limited minutes last week in the VFL practice match. Good, that's fine. Build him up. Nomad Hunter says Bowes in, Close out, echoing my sentiment there. But I guess if there is some concern still about Jack Bowes, then don't pick him. That said, why would you select him as an emergency if that's the case? So, I don't know. It's a tricky one, but that's my stance anyway. Let's talk about, so like we were just talking about the last time we met. Let me scroll back there to that matchup. Come on, there we go. Oh. Team stats are great. When we look at some of the individual numbers, there was some individual brilliance throughout the game. Obviously, like I said, Murphy Reid getting 4 games in his debut was excellent for Fremantle. But for Geelong, Jeremy Cameron kicked 4, the first 4 on his way towards winning a Coleman medal. Tyson Stengel with 3, so Tyson Stengel's still out. Ollie Henry kicked 3 from 9 disposals. Max Holmes with 2 and 24. Michael Frederick kicked a couple back-to-back at one point. Ollie Dempsey with 2. Paddy Dangerfield with 2 goals too. And a few singles there in terms of possessions. You can see Bailey Smith with 32. Sam De Koning with 25, playing through the ruck on that particular occasion. Hopefully we don't see any of that from him with Mitch Edwards coming in and maybe Mark Blitzhalves as the backup. 24 to Holmes, 24 to Henry, Jack, 23 to Tom Stewart, 23 to our beloved Lawson Humphreys, 21 to Mitch Devitt. I thought that was a fantastic game from him last year. 21 from Zach Guthrie, and you can see, and the rest of the numbers there, like pretty solid numbers mostly across the board. So Tom Atkins with a very quiet one. There's plenty to see here that was good, and we need to try and replicate it. But really, I don't think this doesn't tell us a huge amount. It's 12 months ago. The team has changed. Freo has improved. We're coming in bad form. We've got some work to do if we want to get the points this weekend. Let's talk about some history between the two teams. Oh, there we go. Ben caught wind of it. Did someone tag him in the Discord? Is that what happened? Hang on. I'm going to check the Discord. Did someone tag him? Or did his spidey senses go off? Hang on. He is summoned. Okay, maybe it's just... who summoned him, though? Someone did something. I know it. Sorry, Ben, but his form's no good at the moment. He's a best 23 player. He's a fantastic player, but he hasn't been in form for quite some time, and I think he needs to go back and find it before coming back. Not when we've got other blokes like a Jack Bowes that could absolutely perform at the level. Jackie says, I'm surprised that Spud hasn't popped in. We'll see. Ben has sonar ears for close hate. It's not hate. He's just got to go find his form. But let's dive into some deep... talking about golf swings. He hit a hole-in-one recently, I heard. Let's go back to some history and we can really dive into this one. Amongst 46 games that have been played between Geelong and Fremantle, Geelong has won 30 and lost 16. Of course, there's been a few finals along the way. You can see those ones highlighted there, beginning with the semi-final back in 2010 at the MCG. That was an ugly one. I was there that day. Didn't like that at all. Pav had a day out. Wait, is that one? No, that's not the day out. That was in 2010. No, I got it reversed. Sorry, I was reading because I saw Fremantle on the... Yeah, that's my bad. Sorry. The Pav day out was a couple of years later. There we go. We went down by 16 points the MCG. We flogged them in that particular occasion back in 2010, and then got rolled in the prelim by a white-hot Collingwood team the following week. And then, of course, there's the famous qualifying final out in Geelong back in 2013 rather, where we went down by 15 points, and we basically get screwed out of finals ever since in Geelong. Maybe Spartacus is at the gym, where Jackie's just dropping Brad Close in the comments there to see what happens. If you say it 3 times, Brad Close will appear. You got to face the mirror when you say it. Says Shadu. There we go. Mark says, wasn't it the Cats who were the first team that? Yeah. Sorry, that was my mistake. Got him reversed. Sorry, were they the first team Fremantle beat going all that way back? I can't remember if it was Freo's first win, but yeah, our first matchup between them was a loss. 21st of April, 1995. They started. It was 0-1 for the Cats off the back of that one. And then, of course, we chained a whole lot of wins together. And then we've gone through a blinding period as well. But it's started to level up more in recent years. They've been winning more. The ratio's starting to balance out a little bit. So, Flash says in response to Peter's question from 4, I thought their length of games during the COVID years were about right. whatever it was, 16 minutes plus time on. And I guess that probably nets out to be somewhat the same, right? If you have a locked-in 25 and only injuries versus 16 plus the time for stoppages, you probably end up in a similar-ish place. So I like that too. My big worry about just a hard and fast 25 and the clock keeps running is that idea that players will find ways to extract a few seconds, and maybe that will be the difference between a win and a loss because someone's very slow getting up off their feet, lets themselves, like players just kind of pile in on top for a tackle near the end there. Teammates don't get off the player who's trapped at the bottom, which means the ball is trapped at the bottom, which means the umpire can't get, like, the fact that the play stops is helpful in that regard, and I think could be very easily exploited. That's my big worry around that particular choice. I would actually probably rather the shorter quarters again plus time on, as opposed to, because then there's still a hint of unknown, right? As opposed to a hard and fast at 25, we're done. Because, I think there's more ways that can be gamed. Also, let's just quickly highlight back here, 2018, the Cats winning by 133 points. Monster win, our biggest win against the Fremantle Dockers. It's time to go around the grounds. We're absolutely surging through the show. Next week, I'll have to get Ben to give me a few other notes. Also, I just noticed as I look at the actual Google Doc that Ben puts together for the show, he's highlighted some of the injuries and those sort of things for our game, where he speaks about Warple. We obviously spoke about him, Tyson Stengel, Toby Conway. Everything was the injury that Ben's listed there. But notable absentees, he has typed Jack Bose, B-O-S-E again. He's keeping that one going, which I appreciate. I need to also pull up the Discord briefly and see, because I'm pretty sure Ben put a Mitch Edwards graphic, the footy card graphic that he does and does so well. There it is. Let's project that one up on the screen for everyone, just so we can take a moment to. Oh, it's kind of cropped funny a little bit because of the screen sizes and the like. Let's drop that right there. There we go. There's our Mitch Edwards footy card. Ben, you need to be publishing that on socials if you haven't already. Very excited for Mitch Edwards to get that debut this weekend. Jackie says Geelong would have to be the team with the most 100-point wins. I'm sure that's something we could look into. Which AFL team has the most 100-plus point wins? Based on historical data up to 2018, the Melbourne Demons recorded 15 wins by over 100 points, according to Demon Wiki. According to their own community, these dominant victories occurred between 1901 and 2018. Geelong has won far more games by over 100 points than that. Let me see. Just trying to see if there's, like, it's taken me to AFL when I got away from that ridiculous shit a moment ago. I've now gone to AFL tables just to see if they have something, but it doesn't show. Seemingly, it doesn't show. But if someone's able to dig out that stat, that's a fantastic bit of trivia. If someone can pull that one. Yeah, no idea. But I'm with you, Jackie. I reckon Geelong would have to have the most. Obviously, the era of dominance that's been the last 20 years, but then you go toss the Gary Ablett senior period and Donahue's and Wade's and all those legends over the years who are kicking monster bags and kicking tons and tons of goals. Gives Geelong, I think, every chance of having the most, I think. But we'll see. Yeah, Jackie can't find it Googling yet either. Flash says, I've noticed they're using Mitch Edwards more on the website at the expense of Toby Conway, so I reckon he might have jumped up the pecking order of the club. I mean, he has to have, right? Like, he's actually able to play, which, going back to Ben and his injury list that he provided me, he's got, just to sum it up, and this is, I think, where the attitude of so many of us is at as well, James Warple, finger. Tyson Stengel, personal. These are the significant injuries. Toby Conway, he put in brackets, everything. Toby Conway is just injured. All the time. So yeah, that's that one. Shadu says, how devastation for Ollie Henry and Mitch Nevitt that Jack Martin is named ahead of them. I mean, Jack Martin, I think, offers a bit that that Ollie isn't at the moment defensively. Mitch Nevitt just continues to get screwed for opportunity, and I do agree in that regard. I know Matt Hunter says Brad Close needs to accept the feedback from the fans. He's not going to listen to the fans. He's going to listen to his coaches, but hopefully the coaches are parroting a similar message. He needs to be more physical and not get brushed aside like he did last week. And Shadu says Toby needs a bionic leg. He needs a bionic everything just to get him up and running. All right, let's revert back to our stories here, where, like I said, we're going to go around the grounds now. We get to take a bit of a look at what is going on between Richmond and Carlton. It is half-time, and as things stand, the Blues have got a handy margin. 9-9-63, leading the Tigers 5-6-36. What's that? They're up by 27 points, which is a pretty handy halftime margin. I don't know about all of you. I tipped the Blues by 19 points, so I wouldn't mind that margin closing up and letting the sphincters of the Carlton supporters just tighten up a little bit for this entire second half. They can get the win. I want them to get the win, but I'd like to see them shitting bricks because it always goes well. When Carlton supporters are upset, when they're traumatised, when they're scared, we tend to get the best and worst out of them, and I'm all for that. It's entertaining. Brad Close doesn't have the body that allows him to not be brushed to the side. He's the true definition of a mosquito. I disagree. Like he's obviously a slim, like he's not a physical beast, but he's done enough training. He's done enough strength work over the years that he'll be able to hold his own in a contest. But he doesn't, and it's, I think, because he still I feel like he leans in. That he doesn't charge at the ball, is that he leans in, reaches in for the ball at times. And I'm not, like, often when people say, oh, because you're scared, there's no courage or lack of courage thing to this. It's the way he's trying to play the game. It's reach in and maneuver and shovel the ball out rather than get wrapped up and risk the ball being smothered off his hands or whatever. But I'm glad you like the use of the word sphincter there, Shadu. It's the style of game that he's trying to play, which is bruise-free at its core, but it's because of the way he wants to be able to dispose of the ball and connect with teammates. But it means that it's not a good look from time to time, and I think we need him to commit the body and let his skills do the talking at that point. He's capable of picking up the ball and getting his arms up and knocking it over his shoulders. Like, he can do these things. We've seen him do these things when he's had perhaps no choice but commit the body. I wish he just did it all the time and then utilize the skill set from there. So like I said, let's go around the grounds. Of course, the Blues, there's still 15 minutes before the second half kicks off. They're leading by 27 points. We can see when we look at some of the stats, we've got 2 goals to Harry Mackay, 2 to Mitch McGovern, 1 to Mark Pittenhead, he kicked a few last week. He's having a strong start to the season. Is their big ruckman. And to go alongside 12 disposals, 12 hitouts, and 5 clearances. That's some BOG level stuff. What I did see at one point when I looked at my phone before coming in to kick the show off is I saw injured next to the big... Oh no, Sam Walsh must have come back out. He didn't have 18 disposals when I saw injured next to his name. There must have been a point where he was off injured on the bench. So, Flash says, and this is with some footy trivia as opposed to movie trivia, says Geelong features 5 times in the top 20 biggest wins of all time. Hawthorn 4, Richmond 3 times, Sydney 3 times, Fitzroy twice, Pies once, Bears once, and Essendon, I presume, once as well. So I got hit in the head, but I guess he must have passed a concussion test because he's now out there with 18 disposals to his name, which is certainly more than what he had before. And yeah, thank you, Horatio. Sam Walsh is who we were talking about. All right, so as far as the rest of the round is concerned, now, like I said, we're going to have a dedicated preview video that we publish tomorrow. So we'll be able to talk in more detail about Geelong and Fremantle and my thoughts and what's going to prove to be the difference, the margin, all those sorts of things. So I'm going to largely breeze over them when we go through our list here. But at this point, like we said, Blues by 27 right now, should get the win. No concussion, just a purple face. Hawthorn will rebound nicely, I think, in my mind, and smack the Bombers. I've already submitted my tips. I don't know if I'm going to change anything. If there's a game that I'm going to change, it's probably the Dogs and the Giants. But I've tipped the Dogs to get the win at Marvel. They play that home ground of theirs so well. Geelong to beat Freo. Sydney, I've got Sydney beating a very depleted Brisbane team. Collingwood to get the points against the Crows. I think I don't say it with the greatest level of confidence because the Crows were the top-ranked team last year. They got, off the back of the home and away, they've got talent to spare, but they did have some pretty significant injuries in the off-season there, all stemming from tackling drills, right? And I reckon that's just going to knock them around enough. But the more I think on it, the more I begin to doubt it. I won't show my hand as to where my head finally goes with that one. It's a tricky one, actually. It was a good performance against the Saints, but how good are the Saints really? So we'll have to see there. Horatio says you believe we're number one in 100-point wins, Jackie. That would be my thought as well. I just wish we had a record of that somewhere or some stats somewhere. So if someone finds a link, please make sure to send it over. When it comes to our Sunday games, North and Port Adelaide, Melbourne and St Kilda, Gold Coast and West Coast. I've got, for my mind, not that I say it with any great level of confidence, but I've got Port getting up against North, St Kilda against Melbourne, and then Gold Coast to obliterate the West Coast Eagles. Google's rooted, ever since AI's kicked off, Google Gemini is a turd, and AI has then ruined so many other websites, and SEO is just it's all gone to shit. It's good, love it, love the state of the internet, love the state of the world. Everything's going great guns. Don't complain. The world has never been in better shape. All right, we'll continue to keep death to AI 100%, Jackie. We'll continue to keep a bit of an eye on the Carlton and Richmond game, and of course we've got your questions coming up before we wrap the show up for the night. We also have our game of the show to get into as well. So we'll jump over to that momentarily, but we will keep visiting this game. We'll keep talking about it for as long as the show remains live tonight. Everything's awesome, Jackie says. That's right. If we put our heads in the sand, pretend everything is awesome, there's nothing to worry about. Before I kick to our game of the show and Q&A, I will again just revisit my wife's website, the donation, the drive she's going on there, trying to raise money for Endometriosis Australia. Please, if you haven't already, donate $5, $10, 30, 50, 100, 200, 500, whatever it is that you're able to do. I don't care how big, how small it is. Every cent helps, and it's going to a wonderful cause. Not a cent of it goes to us. It is all directly to Endometriosis Australia. If you are not aware of what this horrible illness is, on average, 1 in 7 women have it. And my wife is one of those 7. She's trying to do all she can. She's fighting the good fight and doing a pretty amazing job. Oh, can I add the link to the video? I'll also drop the link in the chat. But yes, I'll make sure to... sorry, that's a great point. So there's the link in the chat for everyone to donate. That would make a bit of difference. That would make it easier for people. Should have done that before. Rookie move. 1 in 7. Flash. 1 in 7 to varying different degrees of significance, I might add. But this is a condition that can impact fertility. This is something that can kind of plague women on any given day to varying degrees of significance. You'll get some days where, speaking to my wife's experiences here, where she basically, if it weren't for the fact that she is just an unbelievable soldier and doesn't ask for help like she should, has had to do a lot through her young years before she even knew that she had this, just kind of fighting on her own and just making things meet. So she's got this attitude of just soldiering on. There were days where she could barely get off the couch. And yeah, Horatio highlighted, and he mentioned in the Discord to go with the donation that he made, that your sister couldn't have kids because of endometriosis. This thing is horrible. And I think it's largely slept on in the news. So Shadu says you read an article about a woman who had endo tissue growing on her legs. That is wild. I can't even imagine. But it's the sort of stuff, obviously, for anyone unaware, it kind of grows out, everything should be, when it comes to periods and everything, it should be working as we've all come to learn about. but then you're getting tissue growing where in places on the outside where it shouldn't be, and then it starts to really plague bowels and apparently legs and other parts of the body. So it's awful. Oh, and Jackie, thank you so much for the donation. We really appreciate it. Again, it's a great cause, and I apologize to everyone in advance, but not really, for promoting the hell out of this over the remainder of the month, because it's a very important cause to our household. And if that $1,000 that she raises, along with whatever donations that other people are able to make through their own donation drives, it's all going to good cause, hopefully to support women who are struggling just as much or worse, and towards research as well. So I'm going to... Thank you, Jackie. I'll continue to nag away then. All right. Before we get into Q&A, our next point of conversation here is well and truly off track from awful women's health conditions and the game of football. My dogs are going wild right now. We're going to jump across to our game of the show here, which, if you don't mind a big stinking RPG, lots of systems, lots of complicated aspects, then Crimson Desert might be for you. It comes out next week. They've got there's a launch trailer that's just been published, and we're going to give it a look. So let's get into that. Play.
It's time. To take back what was stolen.
So, you're finally here. You were expecting me?
Well, you Greymanes are a hard lot to kill, clawing your way back from death's door over and over. How'd you do it?
Let's find out, shall we?
So that is Crimson Desert. Dragons and trains. all in the same product. It looks amazing. What I will say, just for anyone who is showing some interest in it, I am really down for this game. I don't have a copy of this game. Obviously, it's well documented. I get plenty of access, early access to games. I do not, and nor does my team, have access to this game yet, a week out from release. There are PC codes out with reviewers and presumably streamers and the like as well. This is public knowledge. But it's only PC. Nothing for consoles, which does leave me worrying a little bit that there might be a Cyberpunk 2077 situation going on here, where maybe the console version is a steaming turd. So we'll wait and see. But that is, as I said, that is Crimson Desert. Very much looking forward to checking it out. And Jackie, I just saw that donation. Thank you very much. That's a lot. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And please, anyone, if you're not familiar with what endometriosis is, please, like Foxy's highlighted, you didn't necessarily know much or anything about it. Please go check it out. There's a lot to it, and it's one of those ones that is finally starting to get some proper recognition. The government's starting to, different levels of government, whether it's local, whether it's statewide or the federal government, they are starting to give it some attention and love, but it's a long way off the pace. So, given how prolific it is, so please, if you haven't already, and I'll project it once again, please visit the donation page. The link is here in the chat. Anything you can do to help the cause would be huge. So thank you, Bussy. You're a very attractive specimen yourself, mate. And hopefully it's appreciated or noticed. I think Shadu, you were one to jump on the brown jumper thing a lot last year. It's back. It's back. It's a cold night. So I thought I'd don it for this one. But yeah, please, if you haven't already, the donation link is there in the chat. I'll make sure it gets added into the show notes for anyone who wants to tune in afterwards. Any support is huge. $5, $10, $50, whatever. It helps, and it's going to a good place. So please consider it. All right. It is time, though, as we start to wrap things up, to get into your questions and your answers, or my answers, our answers, community answers to go alongside your questions. Let's discuss, of course, what Ben was driving at with the thumbnail or the title of this episode, the risk or the panic around a 0-2 start. What does it mean, chat? I'll put the question to you initially. Chat, if we go on to lose this game, regardless of the margin, what does that mean for the Cats in 2026? Do we need to hit the panic button if Nick Dacos to Geelong, says Thomas. Jackie says, Matt, we can still make finals. Look, I think so too. We've got. You don't contend every year like Geelong does. You don't play in a grand final if you don't have the talent. And I think we've got the maturity and skill that the likes of Sydney, when they got pumped by us, and then again when they got pumped, that those teams don't have. And I think it's the maturity thing in particular. I think we'll rebound from it better. Panic Stations is round 4. If we're 0-4, or is that the Hawthorn game? In what week do we play the Hawks? Hang on, let me check. Not Match Center. Come on, shitty AFL website. Fixture, team, Geelong. Round 3. Oh, of course, round 4 is the Hawks. So, yeah, that's obviously, yeah. I think I certainly think if we get to the end of round 4, and we are at that point, we would be 0-4 because we'll have our bye next week. If we're 0-4, absolutely we need to hit the panic button. I think as a club, they won't. I think as fans, we start to have to worry, of course. Because 0-4 just becomes like the mountain is getting bigger and bigger to climb, and the scope for error is getting smaller and smaller. So, oh, holy shit, someone else donated as well. Thank you, Shadu. You're both amazing. Yourself, Jackie, thank you both for the donations. Shadu, you also say we're going to get the wildcard match and win it to piss everyone off. I love the sound of that. Absolutely love the sound of that. Any opportunity to piss off the filth. We're all saying Discord. Discord? Do I need to check the Discord? What's going on in the Discord? Outside of our big... Hang on, let me drag that across here so I'm not getting it in the way. Outside of our big Mitch Edwards photo, what are we saying in the Discord? What's going on in the Discord? Where do I need to look, Jackie? But I'll continue on. So, yeah, I think round 4, we haven't got an mojo. We can start worrying. Yeah. There's an attachment. Oh, hang on. Unwilling to sign. Victorian clubs are joining the queue for Nick Dacos with revelations he doesn't want to sign the long-term deal the Pies are willing to offer. The superstar is unhappy at times last year for both on-field and off-field reasons, according to the report. Holy shit. Guess who he's good mates with? Bailey Smith. Bring him over. All of a sudden, we'll take Nick Dacos. We'll be his biggest fans all of a sudden. Time for a video. I don't know. I'll have to read the article and see if there's a little bit more substance to this. I don't know if I want to drive that many angry Collingwood supporters our way. Look at the things popping off while we've got this show going. Now, what else have we got in the disc? Oh, yeah. Okay, it was only posted 10 minutes ago. Thank you for the tag there, Shadu. That did make it a bit easier to find what I was looking for. I'm stunned by that. And it does open up the door for Tassie. Obviously, they had some leadership that were pretty definitive in some of their comments last week. I think talking about it being categorical. That wasn't the word they used, but basically being categorical that he will not go to Tasmania. I don't believe that for a second. Not that I think he will go. And in fact, even in the case of this story that we're talking about, I don't see him leaving. But we can't ignore the Gary Ablett Jr. factor, right? We all thought the same thing about Gary Ablett Jr. The family ties and all the history and the best player in the game, just as his father was, and then he left. Nick Dacos has got a premiership. He's likely going to win a Brownlow at some point. Who's to say it's not at Tasmania? There you go. And Jackie's kind of said the same thing. Like there's parallels there, right? Nomad says, not sure Dacos will get a game in our star-studded midfield. I mean, there's some merit to that. Between Bailey Smith and Max Holmes, you could put Dacos off half-back like he once was and just let him dominate. It's not out of the realms. Would he be the best player on the list? Yeah, probably. But could we utilise him in a way that makes him more dangerous? Or for, team cohesion? Why not? Amy says, yeah, if we've already missed Butters, let's make Nick Dacos happen. Nakos cross Baslenka, let's go. Jackie rightly says the Pies were angry about Ollie Henry. Those fans... Oh my God. Weren't they something? They continue to be. He will win the Brownlow at Geelong. Nick Dacos could win more premierships with us, though, for sure. Amy then says, we then found out years later from Pickers that the Cats lowballed Gary Ablett Jr. at the start. And by the time they upped the offer, it was too late. But he nearly got cold feet. Yeah, there was some interviews that Pickers did. I assume you may be talking about the same one. During trade period last year, Pickers was talking about it, and it was interesting to see him get cold feet. Jackie says, Dacos greater than significantly greater than Holmes, and look, I would agree, but I think in terms of the team blend, there's an argument to be made that maybe Holmes could work better through the mid with then Dacos coming off half back or something like, and Bailey Smith through the mid, but you can rotate these pieces around, right? It's the same with if Butters were to come to the Cats or some other big primo midfield recruit coming to the Cats. It's you can shuffle these pieces around a bit. So, the fans will burn down GMHBA if they do. Yeah, they would. It comes out of a trade radio time. Yeah, truly believe Gaz leaving us cost us a premiership, which obviously we won one. But yeah, you do wonder about what would have happened. I think my wife's just sending me. Oh, I guess because she knows I'm doing the show and the donations are coming in. I think she's providing me an updated version of the kilometers covered. She's now up to 41 Ks of her 60. Minimum 60. Like, she's going to absolutely blitz this thing. We might have to change the goal to 100 kilometers. All right. What other questions have we got? Have we missed something along the way because we got suckered into Nick Dacos mode? What was the? Oh yeah. So Flash had asked, how much game time for Mitch Edwards? Does he get above 50%? Yeah, I think he gets above 50%. I think he's going to need to. If we're having to contend with the two big rucks for Freo in both Darcy and Jackson, then I think he's going to need to play significant amounts of game time. So, yeah, I'd expect that he'll play large chunks of the game. My wife's seen the donations. She sends her thanks, Jackie and Shadu. Both of you really appreciate it. She'd actually sent me the kilometers traveled independently. She didn't realize that. And so I said, did you see the donations? She goes, oh, no, I do now. Thank you. She's a rock star. And we talk about the kilometers attached to it. One of the big things around it, and again, if you know anyone, it really does impact you physically. So to get out and kind of cover distances, significant distances, her really kind of fighting against what her body is saying. So I'll just again drop that link for anyone who's got even $10 that they can donate towards the cause. It really does help. And Omad says, what does hitting the panic button mean? The reserves don't have much to pick from. No, I mean, look, obviously for primo top tier players, I think you're right. But they'll shuffle magnets around. Players, like I said, that are at risk, like your Brad Closes and those sorts of guys. Whether I guess the club shares the same belief that I do or that others do, that remains to be seen. But they'll start move. My hope would be that hitting the panic button is going, well, no, we're not going to accept this form from some of you. Go back to the twos. We'll bring in these young blokes who are doing, we'll bring in George Stevens. We'll bring in Jack Bowes. We'll bring in, not that Jack Bowes is a young bloke, but, we'll bring in these guys that aren't getting a game right now and we'll give them a chance to play the way we want them to play. That's my hope. It's more of a drawing a line in the sand thing as opposed to panicking. I don't think the Geelong Football Club panics. So, and Tyson Stengel will be due to come back presumably in a few weeks too. So there's that aspect to it as well. Flash says that Mitch Edwards' goal song is Azizam by Ed Sheeran, which I heard live recently when I took the family. That's a banger. It's a damn good song. It'd be good fun if he managed to kick a goal on the weekend. That'd be good fun to hear that one blaring out through the speakers. Shadu says, I think hitting the panic button means danger in the middle more. That would be part of it. Thomas, you're heading off for the night. Thank you for tuning in as always, mate. Look forward to chatting to you nice and soon. Flash says, hitting the panic button would come off the back of another 10-goal loss to a top 8 side. That's also fair. Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns? We've almost hit the hour for the show tonight. Not that I will necessarily kill it at... Oh, hang on, Tigers on the move. Let's bring the scores back. But they have kicked on the move. By on the move, for us, show means that they've kicked one goal. They've kicked one goal. They've brought it from 27 down to 21. But maybe they're playing some good football around that. That said, they've kicked one goal and we're almost halfway through the quarter. So make of that what you will. Tigers going to upset the Blues. It would be funny. It would be funny. So what have we had? Richmond kicked 1 goal, 2. Carlton 2 behind. So there's not some landslide at play here. But, Sammy Laylor kicked the goal too. He's kicked 2 for the game. Watch along. No, we're not going to do a watch along. For context for people, I mean, the last... Oh, no, then Ryan Mansell's just kicked a goal. Okay, hang on. Now it's on. Let me just project that. I'll talk in the meantime. In the last 10 to 12 days, last night was the first night I got to bed before midnight. Since the second last week of January or thereabouts, I'd been working on 2 reviews of very lengthy games, the most recent of which was Monster Hunter Stories 3. My review went live on the Player 2 website just yesterday, actually. Where are we? Come here. Where'd you go? Oh, sorry, not yesterday, a couple of days ago. Please go check it out. The game's excellent. I gave it an A-. Yeah, we use letter gradings. Please consider checking the game out. It's fantastic. Consider checking out my review, player2.net.au. Link in the comments section. Boom. These are, off the back of playing Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined beforehand, these are both 50-plus hour-long games. Dragon Quest I expected to have far earlier in January to review. It didn't come as early as I would have hoped. Meant that I was doing a lot of late night hours while starting at a brand new job. That then rolled straight into Monster Hunter, which was another 50 plus hours. Same deal. The review got published the other day, and then I had Linkin Park, and then I had a basketball game that was at 9:30 last night. Last night I finally got into bed after having played basketball, got the win. Played basketball, got home, had a shower, freshened up. Last night I got to bed at 11:15, and I was delighted. And tonight I plan on doing the same. So I won't go big full-blown watch along. I'm looking to kind of chain a few early nights together, which is problematic, given that we've got post-game live on Saturday. But, how was the darkness, Jackie asked? They were fantastic. Like I said, I didn't know a great... And sorry, that was obviously another thing somewhere along the way. Linkin Park Tuesday was awesome. And also, I'm really sorry to any Adelaide, South Australian-based Linkin Park fans who have unfortunately missed out tonight with Emily's voice going on her. She's been ill. In retrospect, you could see the signs during the show that I went to on Tuesday night. It's unfortunate for the South Australian fans. I really feel for them. But they're all going to get their... Linkin Park was friggin' A. Oh, no, I mean, yeah, sorry, for a moment, I thought you were like, that was AI. There was an exclamation mark. They're unreal. Obviously, I miss the Chester days. There's no substitute for Chester. But they bring two very different energies and very different skill sets. And I think Emily's fantastic, and she does a pretty admirable job with the classic songs. I love what she's doing. Oh, Jackie, were you there for that night as well? I was there the night Chester broke his arm as well. When he fell off the stage, when he jumped and broke his arm. And then still got out and performed for the rest of the night. That was the first ever gig that I went to. And yeah, so we're at the same one. Look at that. Small world, hey? And also, as I think someone said in the Discord recently, there's a lot of new metal fans in our Discord. Oh, you were there the night prior. Oh, then Chester broke his... Yeah, sorry, the night after. Sorry, I was at the night after. You were there for Chris Cornell. What I'll say, like, when it actually... Let's just lean into the Linkin Park conversation. I will cycle back to the darkness as well. So Emily, I had no idea. So back in 2014, there was a game that came out. Yeah, of course I managed to connect this to video games. There was a game came out called Infamous Second Son. Fantastic superhero game. Genuinely amazing. Go play it if you haven't already. It'll be like $5 or $10 on your PS5, PS4. But they put out a launch trailer, and it was a cover of Nirvana's... oh my God. I've just blanked on the song. Heart-Shaped Box. It was a cover of Heart-Shaped Box. And it was by a band called Dead Sarah. Or Dead Sarah? I don't know. S-A-R-A. Pronunciations can vary. And what I didn't realize, like, I absolutely adored that cover. I then listened to some of their other music. Their music was fantastic. I had no idea until the day in 2024 when Linkin Park came out on stage and they said, we're back. Now, there had been rumors that there was going to be a female vocalist coming in for a little while, but no one knew who it was. And then, boom, Emily's on stage. She performed. She was amazing. We start to get more info about her, and I find out that she was the lead vocalist from Dead Sarah. Nearly fell off my seat. She's amazing. Super talented. And now she's the lead vocalist of my favourite band. Absolutely beside myself with excitement in that particular instance. So, yeah, that's that one. Duncan went on Sunday. The Fort Minor was good. I like Emily more now since then. Yeah, I think hearing her live and hearing her take on the old songs, I liked Emily and what she brought to the new stuff, and I've certainly heard plenty of... I've watched a few videos of her performing it, but seeing it in action live is a whole other story. And to then know that she was clearly under a bit of duress on Tuesday night, with her voice starting to go on her, Even more impressive. And as Shadu was quickly jumping all over on the Discord the night of, while I was there, within like a minute of Emily jumping into the crowd surfing, already Shadu was talking about it. It was unreal. You got your ear to the ground. You had a friend that was there, I think you said. But she crowd surfed. It was awesome. Bussy says, grindcore and black metal for me. Might post unreadable band logos in the Discord to see if anyone can guess them. I can tell you what, I won't be able to guess them. But From Zero is much better live. I am like, and obviously Emily was unwell. They also started a few minutes late, which I think probably had a bit to do with it as well. I was gutted, and my son in particular, who couldn't go, he's 7 years old. I'm not going to bring him to a Linkin Park gig, but was absolutely gutted that Heavy as the Crown got axed from the set list because of the time, probably because of Emily's voice, because that's the song, like he loves that song. And like, you know, when she gets into her scream there at one point, I'll watch him in the back seat of the car just trying to scream it as much as he possibly can alongside. And I was like, mate, I'll record Heavy as the Crown. I'll show you what it was like. And I didn't get it. So he was a bit disappointed about that, but then I showed him all these other videos that I recorded, and the set list was unreal. Like, let me set list Linkin Park. Like, this is the set list that I had. Like, it was absolutely unreal. Like, sure, we missed out on Heavy as the Crown, but like, you know, the staples are there. You get Somewhere I Belong. You get your In the Ends. You get your Numbs. You get your Faints. You get your Bleeded Outs, etc. You get like the obvious ones were there, and there are some songs here that are staples the whole way, like through pretty much all of their shows. But to get the likes of Cut the Bridge from the new album, I love Cut the Bridge. Like after Emptiness Machine and Heavy as the Crown, Cut the Bridge is my next favorite song. Like I love that one. To get From the Inside popping up, to get Keys to the Kingdom, which I was panicked for a second. Shadu knows full well that I can't stand only one song from the new album, Casualty. And for a moment, I thought it was Casualty, and I've gone, oh no. And then I heard, and obviously, yeah, more strained. I think part of it was that she was really straining. All of a sudden, like, I'm like, hang on a minute, this is not Casualty. And the penny dropped, like, this is Keys to the Kingdom. I haven't heard this song in years. And my whole tone changed. Like there was some awesome choices from the band on the night. Place for My Head, getting a Place for My Head. Oh, the only thing that would have made it better, obviously getting Heavy the Crown, but getting With You would have been unreal. We didn't get that, but like amazing, just an amazing show. Oh no. Oh, they can win. They aren't winning. They can win. As for the other half of the conversation, which is the darkness, they were great. Like I'd said, I think on some shows, I knew I Believe in a Thing Called Love, but I didn't really know any of their other songs. I listened to a bit of their stuff in the lead up, just to try and familiarize myself a little bit more. And, you know, I realized, oh, hang on, there's a few songs here that I did already know, but just didn't, I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't connect them. But like I spent, as much as I needed to kind of shift in my thinking into Linkin Park mode really quickly, I did spend a long time listening to Friday Night and Love Is Only a Feeling, digging through some of the other albums as well. Like, it was a good time. It was a really good time. They put on a good show. My mate who went with me to Linkin Park went, so I did The Darkness on the Saturday, he did The Darkness on the Sunday, and then we both had Linkin Park on the Tuesday. He did say he felt like night 2, that his gut feel was that they weren't smashing it, but they did a cover of You're the Voice from John Farnham. They had a crack at In Excess. They butchered that. Like they did some cool little covers to go alongside their other stuff. The energy was great. The Forum is a fantastic venue. But I'm about between those two, between taking my wife and kids to Ed Sheeran the other week, I'm okay with stepping away from gigs and concerts for a while. Need a bit of a break. Jack says, I'm not a kid person, but kids are constantly cool. They're always the most well-behaved, cool kids. Yeah, the kids came to Ed Sheeran, but it would have been a bit much, and I don't think my wife would have even approved if I tried to bring my son, at least. He'd be the only one that, I think would even be entering a conversation. Just like, I don't want the language around them. My wife doesn't want the language around them either. Just to keep it nice and tame. So that was the decision making there, and it was a good night. It was a great night. And then I showed him some of the clips, and he had a great time. Like, he loved seeing the lasers that they were using and the light show. Like, he really got into the spectacle. He keeps going, "Is that Linkin Park?" And he's talking about Emily. I'm like, no, mate. It's a whole band. Like, it's a group of people. He's like, I thought she was Linkin Park, because like he hears her in "Heavy Is the Crown," and it seemed to blink on the fact that Mike does his bit in the song. So he's got even it's been great. It's been a great conversation since. Blues by 14 points. I'd be panicking now if I was Carlton. They need to hit the panic button. They'd been inching away nicely. Like, they'd been building the margin. And then here they're blowing it. They kicked 3 behinds to 2 goals, 4. Like, they need to kick a goal desperately. Goal or 2. If they kick 2, they're they've exceeded, in fact, their halftime margin. They just need to. Shadu, sorry, I mentioned Mike. Please, everyone, bit of love for Mike Shinoda. If you're not familiar with him, he's one of the 2 leads from Linkin Park. He also does some awesome solo work. Go check out Post Traumatic. Go check out Already Over, and as a single that he put out not long before the Linkin Park album was ultimately announced. Mike Shinoda is an absolute gem, and I wish that he would come here and do some like a solo tour of his own stuff as well. But yeah, Already Over in my head to go alongside Post Traumatic, and all his work with Fort Minor over the years too. It's awesome. Insta booped. Did someone pop in there? Who got booped? Did someone get booped? Did Telstra come back? All right. We'll probably wrap things up there. I think we all need to sit down and have a bit of a look at... no one got booped. No one got booped. We all need to go sit down, take it easy, watch the Carlton and Richmond game, and see how it all shakes out. For the sake of our footy tips, if nothing else. So thank you, everyone, for having tuned in tonight. It's been a pleasure, as always. I'm going to have to fix this separately now. We'll go back to full screen so I can fix my display. No, let's scroll that out. There we go. All right. Like I said, thank you, everyone, for having tuned in tonight. It's, oh my God, they're going for goal again. Back to 13 points. For the sake of my footy tipping, I don't want this. But for a spectacle, for the theatrics, I'm so down for Richmond to beat Carlton. I will be there for the fan cams. I'll be listening to Terry and the team. I'll be waiting for Snapper to hit the radio and lose his shit. It'll be a great time. But like I said, that's where we'll wrap things up for tonight. So thank you, everyone, for having tuned in. To give you a bit of a rundown as to how things look between now and this time next week. Tomorrow, we have 2 shows going up. The 2s will be hitting in the Patreon feed, and Jake will also be putting together, I think, a breakout from that is for the public feed as well. My match preview video will be going live. On Saturday, we'll have game day, and then, of course, post-game live from 8, 8:15, thereabouts on Saturday night. We'll be breaking down with you, the community, the outcome from the game, and hopefully the audio situation is better. If you are watching or listening right now and you plan on being on post-game live, please, headphones. Please have some headphones, because that caused a lot of grief the other night. Audio levels, if you're quiet, I can fix them on my end. But headphones fixes a lot of the technical issues that we were having. On Sunday, my reaction video will go live as well. On Monday, the Chaps Chat Cats will do their review and, of course, all their fun and games. Tuesday, enough of the week. Wednesday, Show Us Your Tips will be back. Ben will be making his predictions for round 2, a round that Geelong won't be playing in. And Thursday, the Paul James Show, where we'll talk about a game that Geelong won't be playing. Thank you all for having tuned in. If you enjoyed this, the jumper punch could be amazing tonight. Yeah, if this goes the way of the Tigers, look out. Get on the jumper punch. Get on Blue Abroad. It'll be a good time. Don't be arseholes in the comments, but just watch with a shit-eating grin on your face, because it'll be a fun time. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like the video. If you haven't already liked the video, subscribe to the Hoops Crew on YouTube. Share this video with your friends and family. Get the word out there about all the content that we are creating. There's lots of it. We hope that you enjoy it, and we hope that you consider it worth a sub. Thomas, I just saw that you had donated as well, so shout out to Thomas. Thomas, I think, is already gone. But shout out to Thomas. Again, I'm going to keep the link here on the screen for the remainder of the show. And again, if you want to donate, wonderful cause, endometriosis is a horrible illness, please consider donating there. But yes, subscribe to the videos if you enjoy them. Drop a like, share it with your friends and family, get the word out there. And if you do like those videos, check out our Patreon as well, patreon.com/thehoopscrew. This is going to my wife and through my wife to a good charity. But if you want to support the Hoops Crew and what we're doing, check out our Patreon. That is patreon.com/thehoopscrew, where you can subscribe, get early access, extended and exclusive content. There's lots of it, and we hope that you enjoy it. That includes the twos. So please check out the Patreon. You'll find me on socials. That's Paul James Games on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. The Hoops Crew, you'll find at the Hoops Crew. And until next time, donate to the good cause for endometriosis research and support. Thank you all for watching. Up the Cats. I'll talk to you all on Saturday night in post-game live. I'll see you later.